Okay. So I just wanted to reiterate that we are recording this session and so that we can send it out to all those who are unable to join us today. But we're really excited that you're all here because we have three amazing panelists with great experience and history through the field, and especially um, have thoughts on our topic today, which is supporting women in facilities. They're going to get an opportunity to introduce themselves and to answer some questions that we prepared for them. But we do want to encourage all our participants to use the chat to pose any questions you would like to ask the panelists. We're going to provide some time at the end of our roundtable to pose those questions to the panel and to get their responses before we wrap up for today. So I just want to get started. I'm Ray Aber. I'm the Housing Facilities and Services Network Chair. This is a collaboration with the Women in Housing Network. We have been communicating and working together to put this on, and we're excited for gathering today to share our panelists' knowledge and the excitement of supporting women in facilities. And so I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over to our panelists to introduce themselves, and we'll get started with Tara.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tara Adams. Tara, depends on where you're at, right? And I am currently the Director of Daily Operations for facilities for housing and residence life at Georgia Tech. Um, in addition to that title, I'm also mom. I have a soon to be 27-year-old son. I have a 13-year-old stepson and an 8-year-old. Uh, so and wife. I'm also a wife. So those are the titles that I hold. Um, so my life is interesting, as you can imagine.
Thank you, Tara. And Joanne, you want to
Yeah,
next?
absolutely. My name is Joanne Chang. I currently serve as System Director of Housing Operations at LSU, where my primary focus is facility operations. Definitely say I'm probably the least experienced one on this panel. I'm actually 27, Tara, so it's like I'm close to your son's age. But I'm super excited to be here. Some identities I hold as a first generation Asian American woman. I'm a daughter. But yeah, that's pretty much yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Joanne. And Angela?
I was going to say good morning, but good afternoon. My name's Angela Powell, and I'm with the Brill Furniture Company. And I've been with them for 5 years. And prior to that, you may have heard of another company called, and some of you may have even heard of Campus Fundraisers. That was my first company prior to merging with OCM on campus marketing. So I've been in the college arena for over 30 years. Plus, prior to that, I served as a hall director. So I had that hat as well. My shifting out from the hall director side or from the housing side to the vendor side, my conduct methods, I'm not sure how to say that the right way, but that wasn't my strength. And facilities at that time was not my strength either. So I felt like this maybe going towards the student route. I was with RHA and NACUR and all those fun things. So that's those are the hats I've had in the past and currently.
That's so great. Thank you both. Thank you all for sharing. Really excited to get started. We're going to jump in with our first question, which is, can you share your journey into the world of facilities? What brought you here, and what made it part of your career path? And we'll start with Tara. How about
Absolutely. So I started in the world of facilities management through my initial career start, which was in property management. Um, I probably I would still consider it the non-traditional route to facilities management within higher education. But working for a property management company, we used to, at the time, many years ago, manage on-campus facilities for on-campus housing at an institution here in Georgia. And so once that contract had ended, I ended up applying for and accepting a role within Housing and Residence Life, and just working in general operations at first, which was exciting. But then, getting that little taste of the facilities management end was even more exciting, and every day was different. And so I just kind of, moved to that end of the operations. And that's where I've been for the last 15 years. I will say that, through that process, I've fallen in love with the mechanical end, which probably has, attributes to the problem solving aspect of things. Um, uh, but yeah, that's kind of where I've been my journey. So very non-traditional. So
Joanne?
Awesome. I would say I'd never thought this would be my career path. When I went to college, I was going to be a doctor. I was actually studying for the MCATs in the spring of 2020 when COVID hit. And that's when like, the world was kind of shutting down. And I had that little revelation of like, what do I do with my life? Didn't really feel prepared enough to go to medical school or take the MCATs, but I was an RA, orientation leader, very student affairs heavy in undergrad, which made that jump into going to higher education, my master's, and that's kind of where I started my career path in student affairs. Really kind of loved being an RC. We on my second summer here, or my first summer here actually, we're allowed to do collaterals and things like that. So I decided to do a collateral in facilities and kind of really just fell in love with it over that summer. Went back to being an RC, still loved it, but just didn't really feel fulfilled in my role. Like I felt like I was being underutilized, not challenged, not mentally stimulated, and then wasn't job searching at all. But my associate director at the time shot me an email and she was like, "Hey, starting a new position for assistant director in custodial operations. Like, you ever thought about facilities?" And I was like, "Absolutely not, but tell me more." So that kind of just really just opened my door into stepping into this role. And now, just in over a year and 4 months, it was probably one of the best decisions I ever made. Facilities never was part of my game plan, but this is where I find the challenge and purpose and growth that I felt like I was missing in my residence coordinator role. And I can't really imagine my work any other way right now.
That's awesome. That's great. Thank you, Joanne. Angela, anything to add to that?
So, for me, this was definitely not where I thought my life was going to be. As I mentioned, I had started out in the as a hall director, and I honestly, my long-term plan back in the day was to be I thought a dean of students, or I would be somewhere in that career path. And then, as I mentioned, my conduct role, it really wasn't something that I enjoyed doing, and I was, someone said I was too friendly to be a good contact person. I don't know if that's true or not, and it was just one of those things that I was like, and I saw an opportunity with campus fundraisers, and it was work with NCUR, work with students. And that was really where I felt like it's going to be, I'm a woo, as you might guess. And so I felt like that was probably where my strength was going to take me down that path. I could work with students and all those fun things, travel. Those were the cool things that I wanted to do back then. And having been with the company for 24 years, we had some changes in acquisitions and all those kind of things. And that's details for another time, drinks over at a social sometime. But life took a turn and I was let go. And during COVID as well, COVID was just at the very, very beginning. It was about a month before the world changed completely. And so I was like lost because in my current role, in my role at OCM, I was sort of sales, but I was also did all of our events and those kind of things. And so when the event industry was slowly tanking or quickly tanking as soon as COVID came in. So there was a lot of twists and turns, but someone from the Brill company, my boss, current boss, Bill Schaub, he reached out to Akuhawai and said, "We're looking for someone." And they found out that he says I was a free agent and called and said, "What do you think?" And I mean, I panicked because I'm like, I can't sell furniture. I have no, it's furniture. Like, I don't know anything about that. you know, on the flip side, there was a part of me that said, how hard can it be? It's furniture, but there is a lot to learn. And, but I thought, what else, you know, what am I going to do? We had no idea what was going to happen, you know, over the year with COVID. So I took a chance. They said, how do you feel about Nashville? So Nashville, I packed up from New Jersey and moved to Nashville and started a wonderful opportunity. I've been with Brill 5 years, and so it's been great.
It's awesome. It's great to hear that everyone kind of enters in its own way, but we all kind of started that foundational, like housing entry level positions where either RAs connected us to the idea. Because I know when I got into housing, I was like, I didn't know this was a thing. Like, you know, I didn't expect it when I got into undergrad. So it's great to hear. Thank you for sharing that that experience. Joanne, we'll start with you with this next one. Um, what has surprised you the most about working in facilities, either when you started or as you've progressed? What's been the most surprising thing for you?
Yeah, I think with only having like a little bit over a year under my belt, coming from a fully student affairs or residence education background, when I moved over to facilities, I was surprised by how people focused facilities management really is, right? I thought I was gonna leave behind the student interaction side, which is the side I really fell in love with that got me into student affairs in the first place. But in reality, my work still directly impacts the student experience every single day. I was also surprised by just how much like strategy and long-term planning is involved. There's just so much logistics, train design, communication, even like change management. It's so much more than just cleaning schedules and punching out work orders or hitting KPIs. It's really just about creating systems that support people every single day. So I think that's what truly shocked me the most when I transitioned over.
Absolutely. Angela?
I think the biggest surprise probably for me was because I had worked on the with the advising side with being involved with the current RHA, and you know, there was a mix for sure of men and women, but I think now just being surprised at how much more I'm seeing women in the facility side, and maybe being either more interested or seeing the career opportunities that are there in that, and just I think it's becoming more. Like, you know, it needs to be part of your repertoire in terms of if you want to move up in the field to have at least some, you know, basic knowledge and some, you know, information about facilities and those kind of things. So I think I was surprised. I think initially when I got in, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be the only woman in the room and that kind of thing. And I definitely have not. And and there's some questions down the road about how that kind of transitioned out, which I'll save. So.
Yeah. And I think for me, way back when, when I first entered the field, I expected it to be more a heavy focus on systems and infrastructure and compliance. And you know, while those are still foundational, I quickly realized that the core of it is about creating safe and functional and clean spaces for the people that are here, that the students, the people that work here. And so that point, and then also um, I've been kind of surprised with how much strategic leadership, like Joanne was saying, that goes into the world of facilities management, specifically here at a in higher ed, when it comes to, you know, strategic thinking, planning, communicating, and you know, and how important building those relationships and being able to translate, you know, the world of the technical world of facilities management to all the stakeholders. Those are the, you know, that's been the most, that was the most surprising for me.
Yeah, and I hear that theme where it's like you come into the field expecting it to be about structural, mechanical, and it's really a lot of it's about people, like how to
Right.
activate talent, how to keep staff motivated, and yeah, I agree. I think I expected the same thing when I got into facilities, so it's great to hear that that's also themes people are seeing across the country and they're
Yeah.
as they're getting into the role. Thank you so much for that, Angela. We'll go to you to start this next one. What challenges have you faced as a woman in facilities, and how have you navigated those challenges?
Well, I think when I was reading and preparing and thinking about things, the two things popped into my mind of what really the two challenges that I faced. One was my first initial fear, and as I've kind of said before, I was nervous because I feel like my perception in OCM was we were care packages and linens, which is an important and crucial part of the student experience. But I was also the person that planned all of our fun socials and got to do all the fun things and go to NACURS and do kind of that aspect. And so I wasn't sure if I was going to be taken seriously in the facility side. So that was my first big challenge to overcome. And that really was my internal challenge because I was very well received and I was very always encouraged, especially by my women colleagues that I called and asked, how am I going to do this? So my internal challenge was was I going to be perceived or be taken seriously? And then for me, my other challenge is also, shifting to a more mechanical or left brain role. I can be a little just always thinking, and can we do this? Can we do that? And just learning how to get to the point, learning to balance, reading the room. Like we need to just focus on this, and this is this is what we want. And sometimes I can be like, well, let's do it this way, or let's try this, and let's try that. And so really kind of developing those skills to read the room, know that how I sell is different as well, but I can still get to the sale. I just do it a little bit differently than some of my counterparts do. And kind of knowing when can I offer solutions and when to just go strictly with what, the clients or customers have requested. So.
Thank you for sharing that. Tara, what about you?
Yeah, definitely being underestimated when it comes to technical conversations. I was fortunate enough to, enter the world of housing. I've been in housing for a long time. And so I've been fortunate enough to meet a lot of um, uh, folks who have share their technical knowledge with me. But I still, even, with my experience, navigating or going into the rooms, I still get does she know what she's talking about? Look. Um, and, yes, being underrepresented, is still a thing, right, in the world of facilities management. And then I would say working twice as hard just to be heard, right, and taken seriously. So given those things, I would say the other thing I would point out is just the challenge of navigating through the assumptions that come with leadership styles. So, like historically, facilities is, associated with like directness, toughness, and your command. And although I do have those capabilities, um, you know, women have often been associated with more empathy and more emotionally. And I find that all of those things are needed, right? And so being able to kind of uh, navigate through hey, you can still lead from through collaboration and empathy and emotional intelligence, which is a lot of what we're hearing these days, and in the world of facilities management, that emotional intelligence piece. So, I've learned that navigating through those challenges has been just being consistent, having relationships, and never stop learning. Like never get to the point where you think that you know it all and you're stepping into the room like you know it all. So that's helped me navigate through those challenges.
Thank you. Yeah, highlighting adaptability.
Yeah.
I tell people about facilities, it's all about adaptability. Thank you so much. Joanne, how about you tell us a little bit of what you've seen as a way of challenges and navigating through those?
Yeah, it's really similar to Tara. It's like one of the challenges has been seen as being credible. Typically, being credible in a male-dominated field. and especially with everybody I supervise has 10 to 20 years on me, right? So stepping in a space with my age and just my identities is challenging sometimes, especially when I transition from residence life and I don't have that technical background. But, I've had to learn and still learning, honestly, how to speak the language of facilities, especially in a custodial aspect without abandoning any of my student affairs lens. So building that trust with my custodial supervisors, maintenance staff, like I said, many of whom have decades of experience on me, has meant me listening more than speaking first. Like Tara was saying, showing consistency and always following through. But also a lot of my responses similar to what Tara said too. I think women have to often navigate that balance between being assertive but also approachable. And in facilities leadership, it just can be especially nuancing in those two things.
Yeah, that's incredible. Thank you. Thank you all for sharing that. We'll start with Tara on this one. Were there any people along the way, mentors, supervisors, peers, people who helped shape your path through facilities and kind of, or were there people who opened doors for you to kind of get there? Like, what does that look like in case there are people who are listening and wanting to know, if I want to get in facilities, who can I go to help get that started?
Absolutely. And my answer would be yes, all of the above, right? Just anyone who is willing to share their knowledge. Just reaching out to, yes, having mentors. Yes, supervisors have helped me along the way. Yes, peers have encouraged me because when people see the good work that you do, they respect that, and then they want they want you on their team. So being able to you know to use all of those avenues. I would say I was fortunate enough. So way back in the days, when I worked for a private property management company, I was recruited. I should say recruited. I applied for a role when the contract was changing over. I applied for a role, and I accepted a role at the institution at that time. And the person who hired me was the new at that time was the new director for campus services, and this was a new role for her. Uh, and I was the first person she hired. So now she's an AVP.
Wow, that's awesome.
And so she did, I would say that it did take some, convincing as to, I was used to the world of property management, where you was just bottom line was filling beds and revenue, right? Most of the time. But coming in and learning like the housing and residence life and just higher ed was new to me. But she believed in my capabilities. Like she was able to see my work while I worked for the contractor, and then she believed that I could extend that and learn the higher ed piece. And so that's how I, entered in the support that she provided at that point. But also, I was able to have a executive director who's a male, right? He gave me my first director's position. So he gave me my first director of facilities position, and he was again able to see the work that I was doing, and and I be honest with you, I was kind of hesitant about applying for the role back then because I was like, you know, how would this look? I am an operations person, but focusing on facilities and then, being able to be that facilities leader that's in the room. I was hesitant about that, but he said, "You're already doing the work. You're already doing the work." And so that just encouraged me to keep moving on.
Yeah, that's great. Joanne, who comes to mind for you?
Yeah, for me, there's a lot of people. like I wouldn't have seen myself in this role without those leaders who encouraged me to lean into those operations and logistics side, right? Especially when I was on the residence education side of the house. I mentioned I did a summer collateral in facilities. It was someone in that res ed leadership team that advocated for me to do the facility summer collateral, and that's what got me kind of started here. But I would also say, like, my supervisors who modeled inclusive leadership, who didn't just tell me I belonged in a space, but actually gave me real responsibilities and let me take up space in a room. I think that just shows a lot of trust. And that trust kind of helped build my confidence in a field where, like, I had no knowledge of and that was new to me. But I would also say things like this too, like informal peer mentorship, has been huge as well. Being able to talk to other women in or adjacent to facilities to talk through the challenges that we might face, or understand the shared language that we talk, has also made like a big difference for me as well and open those doors. Yeah.
Angela, what are your heroes?
Sure. When I was when I was a hall director, I'd gone to a UMR Akuho conference, and I was in the exhibit hall area. I was never afraid to go in the exhibit hall, and I will put a shout out to go to the exhibit hall, as especially in facilities you want to go. But I was talking to one of the vendors, and we were talking, and he said something about, he gathered that I enjoy talking to people, and he goes, you can sell anything. It's believing in the product, believing in the people that you work with, and making those connections. And you, as a young professional, you already know the housing. I think we joke about, you don't call housing professionals in August because it's the, peak move-in and stuff like that. Just little things about when how the mind of how housing operates and what's important and when it's important and those kind of things. So that had always been in the back of my mind. But again, my confidence, just all those things around the time when this was my transition, I reached out to some people in the profession. Diane Klein, she was with laundry and also with furniture. And then Terry Gray, she's with Court. And then Kathy Hobgood, Gabe Perez. There were some people in the field that I had seen rising up in the profession. I reached out, I'm like, do you think I can do this? I mean, it was really that group. And then really my two male bosses, Bill Schaub, who was the person that hired me, and Mr. David Field. And he even said something to me at the end of Akuho. They've just recently transitioned out of owners of Brill. Excuse me. And he even made a comment. He said, you've come so far in this 5 years of working with us. And he said, some of the things that we do, we self-impose on ourselves. We can speak up. We can do certain things. We do have the skills and the knowledge. And I think some of that, sometimes we internalize that. And if you hold on to that too long, it may impact what you're thinking. But if we let go of that and say, we can do it, we have very many successful stories of our women colleagues that have thrived in the profession and in facilities.
Absolutely. Thank you. Jen, we'll start this one with you. Can you share any successful strategies or programs at the institution that you're at that have been implemented to encourage or recruit, retain women in facilities leadership roles?
Yeah, I think one strategy that we've been focusing on at LSU is creating leadership readiness through exposure. So I'm thinking about it through a custodial operations lens, right? Most of my staff I supervise is 80% women, and most of them don't always see a clear path into supervision, especially if they've never held any type of formal leadership title. So we're thinking about like giving staff more opportunities to take on specific responsibilities, whether it's small projects, training a new hire, leading a team huddle, just ways to start building that foundation to build their confidence and their resume, whether they decide to stay here at LSU or go on to their next journey. But we've also been rethinking, like, how do we support new supervisors, especially women, because transitioning from a peer to supervisor role can be extremely tough. So we're building a more structured onboarding and peer support to set them up for long-term success. And I would say on the recruitment side, moving away from like the traditional idea that you have to be from a certain type of background to be effective in facilities, right? I think some of your best leaders can come from different fields. Like myself, I came from a non-facilities background, and we're just trying to highlight like how can we talk about open roles and more advancement in that kind of mindset.
That's awesome. Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Angela.
I think, being sales rolling on the vendor side, my lens is a little bit different for this conversation. But one of the things that's been really cool is, and this was also true when I worked at OCM as well, is, not to share, folks are going to retire. So how do we train and educate and get with the next group of people that are coming in so that they feel encouraged, they feel that there's opportunities and those kind of things. And I shared that with Brill. And so through that, I worked with some women. I worked with Crystal Henry, who was at Jacksonville State, Jacksonville University. And we did a program. I worked with Gretchen Brockman at East Carolina. We did a program at this past Campus Home Live on breaking the facilitators barrier. And we talked about kind of the challenges and all the things that we've talked about today. And Brill has been really supportive of that. And it was so funny because I was telling them the program's at 10 and it was really at 9. And I saw them all come up in our white shirts exhibit day and they all came in to support the program. They even commented in the program and talked about something. So very supportive of that. And then also with the next generation, I always encourage younger folks, come in the exhibit hall. Don't be afraid to talk to exhibitor friends. Learn. Most exhibitors, whether it's furniture, technology, whatever, they want to help and they want to be supportive and offer solutions and suggestions. And someday you will be in a position where you can deepen those conversations and make decisions. So those have been two areas that have been important to me. And Brill has been very supportive of that. At the end of the day, I still have sales goals like everybody else, but my thing is to really work with that next generation and encouraging them to go into that role and add facilities to their arena now, because I know that I did it and you can too.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna say I would agree. Like I think it starts first with the conversation, right? Opening up the dialogue and have the conversation with the women that currently work in your operations. Because like Joanne was saying, like our custodial team as well is majority women, and just being able to and outside of the custodial operations where we have majority of women, just in housing and residence life and beyond. I mean, I have discussions with women who work outside of housing, like in other campus service areas like dining, right? And so being able to have those conversations, we do have the institution here does have a couple of programs that I think has helped with at least for me with retaining like we have the Inclusive Leaders Academy that's helped that's been a safe space where people can have dialogue and gain strength with navigating through leading diverse teams and helping navigate through difficult conversations. And then also we have the Leading Women at Tech, which I was accepted into that cohort a couple of years ago, and oh my gosh, it was the best thing ever because you can imagine, again, I'm in a predominantly male environment, and so that those were my people, being able to go to that to the Leading Women at Tech program and being a part of that because it allowed me to see that I'm not the only one that's navigating through uh, my environment, right? And so that definitely helped out. Oh, you're on mute, Ray.
After 5 years, you would think we would know how to Zoom. Thank you. It's always the one brave soldier that says, "Hey, you're on mute." Thank you. Yeah, so we have time for one more question. Then I think Quinika Lee, who's on here, will handle this last bit, the Q&A part. And I think this is a good one to kind of wrap up the panel conversation. And again, if you're you haven't already submitted a question to the chat, please consider doing so, because it's the only way we'll be able to get your questions answered, because we won't be able to take you off mute in this webinar format. So please, if you do have some questions you'd like to pose our three panelists, please send those soon. So our last question, and we'll start with Angela. How have you noticed any shifts in how women are represented or supported in facilities over your time in the field?
This was an interesting question to think about, and I think part of it is I see more women in VP roles, and I don't know. I think it's true, but did I notice that before, or am I noticing more because of my role with Brill? But I do see more women in VP positions, and I have to believe that facilities has to again be in that arsenal for them to be able to move up the ladder. And in talking with those women, I know because I have talked to some of them about furniture, and they said, "Are you coming to the campus to do a presentation?" or those different things. So I think they have that in their arsenal. And so that's something that I notice is a shift that I think there's more opportunities, and I think women are seeing that. And I think folks are encouraging women more so to look at these positions and do so. So that's what I've seen over the last few years.
Tara, any thoughts on that?
Yes, I agree. I think that women were represented more in the world of facilities management. However, I think that there's still limited support, especially in light of the recent shift away from DEI. And in facilities, in particular, it's a field where old norms still persist. And I think that moving to or looking for ways where we can continue to support and create a space where we feel safe and valued and empowered, is where I hope to see us go.
Thank you. Thank you for that note. Joanne?
Yeah, I think as someone who's still pretty early on in their career, I can't say, well, I haven't watched the field shift over the decades. I feel like I'm kind of actively living that change right now. I think one thing I am really proud of is that LSU, our entire custodial leadership team is 90% women. And then when you look at our facilities leadership team, it's all women except for one associate director. And that, I feel like that kind of representation is rare in facilities, and it's something I don't take for granted. I feel like it sends a really powerful message, not only to our staff, but our students, that women lead here and we do it well. And even with that progress, I'm aware that many other institutions aren't there yet. And I think that's why we just we need to keep on creating more visibility and access points for women to get to these positions and things like that.
Yeah, that's great. Well, we definitely thank you for kind of sharing your responses to those questions. We appreciate hearing your experiences, and hopefully a lot of food for thought for people who are listening to this either today or in the future. So I'll just turn it over to Kunika if she wants to. Emily, are we able to get her? Oh, there we go.
Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes, hi, Kunika.
I currently do not see any questions in the chat. I don't know if you are able to see any, Ray.
I do. I do see one coming from Kara. And that question is, do you find yourself doing more emotional labor / support for others in your unit than men are doing, especially for women staff in your supervision line who maybe don't report directly to you? Somebody want to take a crack at that one first?
I think the short answer is yes. but I would say it's not just for women. I think that we spend a lot of time you know m m yes, managing and supporting um the people who we lead. Um and what I've found, which was I think was another um uh misunderstanding about the world of facilities management, is that it's non-emotional, right? And I found that it is. It's very because you have egos, you have people who are very passionate. And so when you have those collide, right, you find yourself spending a lot of time managing and just supporting. I would say supporting um, through those situations as they arise, um, and um, and refocusing.
Other thoughts from our panelists?
I'm probably on my side little bit more emotional because, well, I'm, in probably with other industries as well, but in the furniture industry, there's so many things you have to, fabric options, color options. And so sometimes that can be, if that's not a focus or an interest, perhaps just that emotional piece that comes into play when you're looking at decision making and stuff like, where's this going to
Mhm.
be used the most, or what are we going to do with this line of technology or whatever. So I think you're right. It's all emotional, Tara, like what you mentioned. There's emotion is a big part of any decision making. In terms of what's the long-term effect? Is it going to affect students, or is it going to affect the parents? And now we're going to start getting parent calls if this is the situation. So I think always having that emotional piece is important, an important perspective to have and to keep.
Yeah.
I mean, y'all said it the best. I also think about thinking about the staff we work with. Like most of my custodial staff do come from a lower socioeconomic class. So just that itself has a lot of emotional, like what Tara said. We just have to support them because there's a lot of personal issues that they never had anybody support them with. So just whether I'm a male or a female, I think anybody in that role just kind of does that emotional labor or support.
Absolutely.
So that was the only submitted question, but I guess I have one if I can. If you have one piece of advice to someone who's maybe out there thinking about, is this the right direction for me? What would that piece of advice be?
I can jump in. That was one of the questions I was hoping we would get to. Um, I've been involved with, having been involved with NCUR, but then that transitioned into KUHO and the different regions where I was opportunity to work. And one of the things I would say is just get involved. And, there's committees for every arena of housing. So, maybe if you're wanting to know about facilities, maybe join that committee. And then as you go to the meetings or take a seminar or whatever that looks like, you can kind of say, okay, I enjoyed it, or maybe not. And I think that can be a good way to get involved, volunteer, use your time and your talents to offer and encourage. And again, I think for the purpose of this and to promote is there's two opportunities for women to get involved in the facilities, and then just not just but the women in housing group as well, to have support and to discuss those questions. We have open forums, and can we take time to say, hey, what's going on, or how are you feeling about things? And it's a great opportunity to have those extra opinions out there that you can process and use as you're making career decisions.
Thank you, Angela. I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I would say definitely if you don't have a mentor, seek a mentor. I have a mentor and I have a mentee. So I met my mentor. I'm sorry. Well, I met my mentor because she's within the university system here, but my mentee is not. I met her at the Kuhuai Apple Conference. and she approached me. And I think it was it was a session. It was a leading women in facilities session. So she approached me, and we actually later presented at a Kuhawai facilities conference, like a couple years later. But I think it's important to just, don't be scared to reach out to folks and understand that your mentor does not have to be another woman in facilities. I mean, there's other folks who are willing to share their knowledge and willing to support you as a woman. And so just know that, and be able to, and be, confident in reaching out and building those relationships.
Yeah, thank you for adding that. Mentorship is a really hot topic this year. Allison Fox, myself, and Barry Olson are going to be doing a program at the APA conference this October on mentorship and the benefits of that. So just a point of promotion for the conference coming up.
Nice.
So yeah, hopefully we'll be able to expand on that a little bit, because I agree mentorship is so important in this field. Joanne, anything you want to add to that? Any advice?
Yeah, I think if you're entry-level professional staff, I think I mentioned like summer collateral, so in your summertime taking that leap of faith. But I'm thinking even back to my grad school days where I was searching for an NQI internship. Where I actually had one, or I got offered one at Emory for facilities and operations, right? I think just like taking that leap of faith and just exploring a new functional area to see, like, do I like it, or no, I'm never going back to facilities ever again, will kind of start that just that foot in the door for you and just like get you started. Yeah.
That's great to hear. I'm very proud of our Emory summer internship. Sounds like you came before I got to Emory, but it's produced a lot of professionals in the field. I'm very proud of that program we've built here. So. Well, thank you all. So we'll kind of end this session first and foremost by thanking our panelists. Really appreciated hearing everything you had to say about your journey and your advice and your perspective on this very important topic. We're going to post this out so that people can have access to it and hopefully connect with all of us here if they're interested in learning more and doing more and being involved. And so we'll end it with the two networks just kind of sharing a little bit about what's coming up. And so for the Housing Facilities and Services Network, we have our usual meetings on the third Tuesday of the month. We are taking our break in August for opening, but after starting in September, we'll get back to our monthly meeting schedule. It's Tuesdays, the third Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Pacific. And we've had attendance from people all around the world. We've had people from Australia and the UAE that have come to our events. And so we're really happy with how we formatted our meetings to be able to expand on educational opportunities, networking opportunities. And then we'll also in November, we don't have the date just yet, but in November, we're planning our next webinar, which will be facilities audience specific on housing facilities and making sure our voices and our values and our needs are met when it comes to campus-wide planning for crisis response. And so we hope you will all join us when that information comes out. Join our housing facilities management community to get updates through the digest, because that's where we mostly will be communicating. And then Quinnica, I'll give you the last word on what's coming up for the Women in Housing Network.
Thank you so much. I also just want to echo a big thanks to all of our panelists today. This was a great conversation. I wish I would have had this 10 years ago when I was entering the field. And I just remember operational facility side just being so daunting, and folks in those spaces didn't seem approachable. So this is great, and I hope people really take advantage of this and watch this recording. So for Women in Housing, we're also going to take a break for August. We may end up doing our open connection meeting just to check in and see how folks are doing. But for virtual roundtable, we will not host one for August, but we'll kick back up in September. And so, you know, in talking with Angela, I think this is a discussion that we need to continue in different formats. And so I'd love to connect with Ray in the future about how we can continue these talks about women in facilities work. So thank you all again, and thank you, Ray, for moderating this discussion.
Absolutely. It was my absolute pleasure. We had 3 questions we actually couldn't get to, so I think that'd be a great way to get those questions answered for those who are interested, our attendees especially. And so, yeah, absolutely. Love to continue this conversation. It's such an important topic. Yeah, thank you all. I hope you have a great rest of your summer. Hopefully you find time to enjoy some of it. I know it's probably hard to tear yourself away, but we hope you have a great rest of your summer, and we'll see you on the other side of opening. Thank you all. Thank you, panelists. Thank you attendees. Absolutely. Thank you, attendees, for your engagement for this opportunity. So best of luck to you all.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you very much. This was very fun to be involved with. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.